الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أرسل نبيه بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره الكافرون وأشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله أدى الأمانة وبلغ الرسالة ونصح الأمة. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وعلى أصحاب سيدنا محمد وعلى أتباعين بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek His forgiveness and we seek His refuge. And we bear witness that there is no deity except Him. And there is no, and that Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is His messenger and His servant. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent His messenger with guidance to the whole world, to guide them to the straight path. He sent him with the true book that does not entertain any blemish or any fault. And he sent him with the complete guidance to the straight path, guidance for happiness in this life and the hereafter for all whoever believes in him. I enjoin upon you and myself to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. O you who believe, be conscious of Allah and work for your tomorrow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fully aware of what you do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, be conscious of Allah as He deserves to be conscious of Him. Taqullah mastata'tum. So taqwa, God consciousness, is the key for happiness in this life and the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He promises those who remain conscious of Him ease in this life. And He will find doors opened for them when they meet an adversity or difficulty. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. And those who are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah promised them that He will provide for them from wherever they did not expect. In short, God consciousness is the key to happiness in this life and in the hereafter. In a couple of weeks, millions of Muslims will head to Mecca to observe the rituals of Hajj. This ritual that has been started by Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam and will continue till the Day of Judgment. Millions of Muslims share in these rituals, and other millions watch and observe and take lessons from them. And today I'd like to share with you some of the things that we can think about when we talk about pilgrimage. There are many lessons that we can glean from pilgrimage, but I'm going to talk about a single issue, the issue of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because pilgrimage is the epitome of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Pilgrimage represents the absolute submission, not only of a single person, Sayyidina Ibrahim, but also by his son, Sayyidina Ismail, and the mother of Ismail, Sayyida Hajar. The three of them gave examples of absolute submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Hajj to commemorate these acts of submission so that they become role model for us. Old men, young men, and women can look at these three examples and follow in the footsteps of these three great people who fully submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Submission is to fulfill whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do and to abstain from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us to do with no conditions. Not only with no conditions, but with love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Sayyidina Ibrahim. He says, إِذْ جَاءَ رَبُّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, when he came to his Lord with a sound heart. And a sound heart, Salim, Qalbun Salim, as we say in Arabic, Salim has a lot more connotation than being sound. Salim means that's free of any blemishes or any faults, free of any insecurity, free of any fear. Salim is a heart that's pure and open and can communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salim is a heart that's full of love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Sayyidina Ibrahim to submit, he said, I submit. إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Sayyidina Ibrahim, submit. And he right away said, I submit. But Sayyidina Ibrahim did not only submit by his tongue or by his heart, he submitted by his actions as well. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him Sayyidina Ismail, and reflect on this for a minute. Sayyidina Ibrahim was growing as an old man. He wanted a son. He wanted someone who would inherit him and continue his work. And he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him the son. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him Ismail alayhi salam. And when Ismail was born, and the heart of Sayyidina Ibrahim was full of joy and happiness, and he knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his prayer, Allah tells him, take your son and his mother and leave them in a spot in the desert. By any human calculation, a woman and her child, recently born child, they would not last for a few days in this desert. If not eaten by animals, then they will perish by thirst and hunger. But he knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding him to do this for a reason or for a wisdom. And he does this. He takes Sayyidah Hajar and Ismail alayhi salam and leaves them in this deserted place in the desert. No people around them, no vegetation, no water, nothing. Just a complete vacuum except for the desert sand. But when he leaves, he says, ربنا إني أسكنت من ذريتي بواد غير ذي زرع عند بيتك المحرم ربنا ليقيموا الصلاة فاجعل أفئدة من الناس تهوي إليهم وارزقهم من الثمرات لعلهم يشكرون. He said, Sayyidina Ibrahim said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I left my family in this deserted place. It is a place near the location of your sacred house. To do what? لِيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, so that they would establish prayer. فَاجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. So make hearts of people yearn to come to them. This da'wah is, we can see this da'wah. Every one of us, every Muslim on this earth is wishing and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him the opportunity to perform Hajj. And that's the da'wah of Sayyidina Ibrahim. This is the prayer of Sayyidina Ibrahim. وَارْزُقْهُمْ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ, and then provide for them. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْكُرُونَ, so they may be grateful to you. A dua like this, a prayer like this, tells us exactly what Sayyidina Ibrahim felt. Even though he felt anguish and he felt pain that he would be separated from his family, he felt fear for them in this deserted place, but he knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would take care of them. And all what he wanted Allah to do, number one, is to help them to establish prayer. So he wanted their righteousness in this life and the satisfaction of Allah in the hereafter. Number one is to establish prayer. And for that, for them to establish prayer, they need other things. They need this place to be populated, so their hearts would yearn towards them. They need to survive, so give them from the al-thamarat, give them the fruits that would help them to survive, and help them to be grateful to you. And that's the prayer of Sayyidina Ibrahim that we can see happening and has been accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right now. Everyone wants to go to Mecca. Mecca has flourished as a city. They have all these fruits and all of this money. So that's the example of Sayyidina Ibrahim. When Sayyidina Ibrahim left Sayyida Hajar and her son and was leaving, she was wondering what's going on. How can he leave us in this deserted place? We are going to be eaten by animals, or we're going to perish by thirst and heat and lack of food. So she asked him. She didn't yell or cry or weep. She asked him, did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded you to do this? That was her only concern. Is this something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mandated? And Sayyidina Ibrahim did not reply directly, but she understood from him that this was the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she said, then he will not forsake us. Gives you an idea of the depth of faith of Sayyidina Hajar. He will not forsake us. He brought us here. He will take care of us. She didn't run after Sayyidina Ibrahim. She didn't cry. She didn't do any of these things that a woman, a normal woman, would do in such a situation. But her only concern was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who commanded this to happen. And then she said, if he did, then he's not going to forsake us. And she did not just sit there idle. She wanted to do something. And that's one of the facts about submission. Submission is not to accept everything and sit down and do nothing. Submit is to accept what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mandated for us, but to work to change it if it is in our means to change it. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us mental ability, physical ability to change things around us. We have been created to change the world. So Sayyida Hajar did not just sit idle. She saw these two hills, As-Safa and Marwa, and she went from one hill to the other, watching afar, seeing if there is a caravan passing by on a distance. And she went back and forth until she completed 7 trips. And then suddenly she heard the sound of the water gushing out under the feet of Sayyidina Ismail. And yet she realized that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly did not forsake her. And the water came out, the birds came to drink from the water, and very soon people came to drink from the water, and it became a city around the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the submission of Sayyida Hajar, and this is what we do every time we perform Hajj. We make tawaf first, and then we make sa'i. And the sa'i is what Sayyidah Hajar did, and we are commemorating her memory, and it is going to be commemorated until the day of judgment. She is a true example of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, accepting and being content, being happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but in the meantime, working hard to change things. And she was a shrewd woman. When people started to come to drink from the water, she did not leave things like that. She had an agreement with them. The rights of the water is her rights and her son's rights. They can drink, their animals can drink, but ultimately she is the one in control. And people accepted that condition, and that shows us how this woman, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with her, behaved in such difficult situations. So that's the second example of submission that you learn from Hajj. And the third example is the submission of Sayyidina Ismail. Now, Sayyidina Ibrahim comes back and he sees his son growing up. And فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعُ السَّعْيِ, he started to get into the age of being able to earn his living. And then he sees this dream. يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. Oh my son, I see in my dream that I have to sacrifice you. So tell me what you think. Sayyidina Ibrahim saw that dream, and that dream for a prophet is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what did he do? First thing that Sayyidina Ibrahim did is to go to Sayyidina Ismail and explain that dream to him. This is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What do you think we should do? And this is a very important concept, is that you do not belittle people. Young people have a say in their destiny, in their future, in their life, and we have to listen to them. We have to tell them, be transparent with them. We do not force them to do things, assuming that we know better than what they know. Sayyidina Ibrahim went to his son and said, this is the dream, this is the command of Allah, tell me what we should do. And here is the submission of Sayyidina Ismail. قال يا أبت افعل ما تؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين. He said to his father, oh my father, do whatever you have been commanded to do. I accept the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will find me persevering. You will find me persevering. And that's the utmost example in submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Three examples of submission: Sayyidina Ibrahim, Sayyidina Ismail, Sayyidina Hajar, may peace be upon them, give us the example of submission, absolute submission. And this is a lesson that we learn year after year. We see people performing the Hajj, and that is a reminder of us. And as a reminder of the submission of Sayyidina Ismail, we slaughter a sheep or a cow at the end of pilgrimage to commemorate the act of submission of Sayyidina. So tawaf around the Kaaba and sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and then the sacrifice. And the fourth one is the stoning the shaitan. Because Sayyidina Ibrahim, when he was leaving his son and Sayyidina Hajar, shaitan intercepted him. And he said to him, what are you doing? This is crazy. If you are going to leave them in this place, they are not going to live for a few days. And Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam knew that the promise of Allah is the true promise. And he threw pebbles at the shaitan so that he can get away from it. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. ادعوا الله وأنتم موقنون. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So these are the lessons that we take from Al-Hajj, and the Hajj reward for Hajj are tremendous. And the rewards for Hajj are great because they epitomize the act of submission, because that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us, is to submit to Him. And submission has been given to us in examples, concrete examples, not only by sayings and advice and so on, but in action as well. And it is given in action by an old man, a lady, and a young man, so that it covers all the bases of the family. It also brings us to the idea of a family. We have to form our families around submission, because that is the only thing that will guarantee our victory, our well-being, our comfort, our good life in this life, and in the hereafter it will provide for us the absolute happiness that we are looking for. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. اللهم ارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم لا تجعل لنا في هذا اليوم العظيم ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا عيبا إلا سترته، ولا دينا إلا قضيته، ولا مريضا إلا شفيته، ولا ميتا إلا رحمته، ولا حاجة هي لك رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا رحمن. اللهم ارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين. اللهم طهر قلوبنا من النفاق، وأعمالنا من الرياء، وأعيننا من الكذب. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم انصر المظلومين في كل مكان. اللهم ثبت عبادك الصالحين في كل مكان. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون.